Young mom gives birth to triplets only to be blindsided by the doctor's news.
But before we start, please take a moment to give this video a like, subscribe and hit the bell so you'll never miss these great stories.
Pregnancy is different for every woman, and just because a woman has already had a child doesn't mean she knows exactly what's in store the next time around. One mom from England learned this firsthand when her suspicions of being pregnant again were confirmed, but this time with triplets. However, the news of triplets was nothing compared to the shock that her doctor had coming. Becky Jo Allen was a 23-year-old single mother living in a suburb of Liverpool, England, known as Gateker. Her 3-year-old daughter, Indiana, was her pride and joy. But soon their family would take a dramatic turn. Becky Jo began feeling nauseous and uncomfortable in the mornings. This led to a slight suspicion that she might be pregnant again. So she went to her doctor's office to see. But she was not prepared for what the sonogram would reveal. The doctor told her she was, indeed, pregnant. With triplets, Becky Jo could hardly believe it. She suspected she may have been carrying one child. But 3, the young mom decided to take it in stride. But it wasn't easy. At 31 weeks, her water broke, and she was immediately rushed to a nearby hospital. Doctors would have to work quickly and carefully if they wanted to deliver all 3 of her children safely. After several hours, Becky Jo finally delivered triplet boys via cesarean section. She named them Rocco, Roman, and Rowan. The boys, however, had a number of medical issues because they were so premature. Her newborns were rushed to the neonatal intensive care unit of the hospital so staff could give them the appropriate treatment, keep them breathing properly, and monitor their vital signs. Becky Jo was terrified for their safety, while the triplets were in the intensive care unit. Becky Jo tried to take her mind off of the stress by setting up their new bedroom. As a single mom who'd just given birth to 3 children, getting the house ready for their arrival would be a challenge, to say the least. She loaded up on clothing, books, and other baby goods so she'd be completely prepared to welcome her 3 new bundles of joy. She knew it was going to be a lot of work, but she was ready to be a loving mother to all 4 of her children. Finally, after 6 tense weeks, the boys were allowed to leave the hospital. And Becky Jo couldn't have been happier. When she finally got to see how their features had matured, though, she was taken aback. They didn't just look similar, they looked identical to one another. Identical triplets, especially via natural means, were rare. Becky Jo consulted a specialist at the Multiple Births Foundation who told her she could administer a DNA test to determine whether the boys were identical. Becky Jo swabbed the inside of the baby's cheeks and sent them off to the lab for review. 3 days later, the result came back. To the surprise of Becky Jo and everyone she knew, the test confirmed that her triplets were identical. According to various medical sources, the chances of having identical triplets fall somewhere between 1 in 60,000 and 1 in 200 million. After Becky Jo was able to process that her newborns were nearly a genetic miracle, she started worrying about something else. How could she tell these 3 boys apart without any prior experience raising or living with twins? It was a huge concern for the young mother. Unsurprisingly, it didn't take long for the boys' personalities to show Becky Jo that she'd never have to worry about mixing them up. She said Rowan was the loud one, Rocco would go with the flow, and Roman preferred to keep all his toys to himself. Naturally, it was tough for her to run errands around her town. Everyone wanted to stop her and discuss the triplets, too. When people found out all 3 were identical, their jaws would hit the floor. Still, Becky Jo was proud of the attention they received. Something else Becky Jo considered when she brought the boys home was how Indiana would handle the situation. She was used to being the center of her mom's world. But with the triplets, would she feel unimportant? Of course, Indiana fell in love with her brothers as soon as she met them. She always joined her mother on outings with the triplets. And even though she was young, she helped out whenever she could. Of course, all the commotion throughout the day made for some serious nap times. Between all 3 of them, they would take about 130 naps a week. Becky Jo would go through about 4 packs of baby wipes and nearly 4 packs of baby formula a week. Birthdays were unique in Becky Jo's household, too, since 3 of her 4 children got to celebrate them together. Indiana always helped her mother with all of the decorations and gifts to make her brother's birthdays as special as possible. What began as a difficult time in Becky Jo and Indiana's lives turned out to be a rewarding experience for all. The young mom of 4 still has a lot on her plate. but it helps to remember just how special her family is. When Becky Jo remembers what it was like to get the news that she was having triplets, she still feels surprised. But little did she know, another pregnant woman had also just received some news from her doctors. And it was even more shocking. Just a few short months after their wedding, Bethany and Tim Webb of Hive were ecstatic to learn they were going to have a baby. They'd initially planned to wait a year before growing their family. A few months afterward, during a routine visit to the doctor's office, the couple was asked an unexpected question. Did either of their families have histories of multiple births? Confused, Tim and Bethany both shook their heads. That was when the doctor gave the couple the shock of a lifetime. She turned the screen and she started counting babies, and she counted baby 1, baby 2, baby 3, Bethany recalled. You can stop at baby 3. Baby 3 is enough. And then she counted out the fourth baby. Bethany immediately started to panic. Obviously, quadruplets would be an enormous challenge, and one that was incredibly rare. In fact, in 2015, there were only 228 sets of quadruplets born in the entire United States. Most families with quadruplets had the aid of fertility treatment. There's only a 1 in 729,000 chance of having quadruplets naturally, so it was understandable that when Bethany and Tim shared the news with their family, they assumed they were joking. Of course, they were entirely serious. The couple quickly considered the logistics. Bethany said that she realized that we didn't have a vehicle that could support 4 babies. They would also need to temporarily move in with Tim's mother, as their 1-bedroom apartment simply wasn't big enough for 6 people. Their finances would be another issue. It's a costly affair to raise just 1 child, let alone 4. 4 strollers, 4 car seats, 4 cribs, diapers everywhere, Bethany said. All the while, the due date continued to loom. The pregnancy itself went well until, at 33 weeks, Bethany was transferred to the larger Royal Alexandra Hospital in nearby Edmonton for a C-section. It was there that the couple finally welcomed their daughters, Abigail, Emily, Grace, and Michaela, into the world. Remember how there was only a 1 in 729,000 chance of having quadruplets through natural means? Well, the Webbs were even luckier because the odds of all 4 of the babies being girls were just 1 in 15 million. There are few guarantees with any pregnancy, but each one of the Webbs' quadruplets was as healthy as she could be. I feel overwhelmingly awesome that the babies are here, Tim said. I feel blessed. Becoming a dad took on a special meaning for Tim, who had lost his father just a year before the quadruplets were born. Thankfully, he'd have plenty of chances to make his late father proud. Of course, nothing could help Tim prepare for being the only man in the house. He was largely outnumbered. Nonetheless, he was happy to have such a beautiful family, and he tried to take his role as a new dad in stride, exhausting as it might have been. Though the babies were a handful, Bethany and Tim were completely in love with their big family, and they made sure to see the silver lining in everything. Even when times were tough. At least we get one nice perk of it all, Bethany joked. It was nice that we didn't have to pick our favorite baby names. Despite being able to use all of their top name choices, the couple came across one unique problem. Trying to tell each baby apart, they needed to find some way to make the girls look visually distinct. Bethany and Tim developed a nifty color coding system. They selected yellow for Grace, purple for Emily, blue for Abigail, and pink for Michaela. Though those colors would change slightly, Grace would eventually wear red while Abigail wore green, for instance. They painted the girls' nails in designated colors, and the quadruplets would wear different colored earrings once they were old enough to get their ears pierced. Still, Bethany and Tim enjoyed matching their daughters' outfits. How could they resist? Thankfully, Bethany and Tim observed that their daughters all displayed different personalities right away. It was important to them that they addressed each of their babies' needs and recognized them as individuals. With their rare birth and individual quirks, the young quadruplets and their adorable photos quickly took the internet by storm. Of course, one baby would be cute enough, but 4 identical babies were another story. Fortunately, the Webbs' unique situation caught the eye of their local community. Caring neighbors in their hometown of Hythe set up a GoFundMe campaign to help offset the enormous costs. Some even held fundraisers for the family.